Hi guys, are you ready for Chapter 7? Let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 7, Righteous Desires. The desire to succeed is pretty much universal. It is human nature to want to do well in all areas of your life. What separates the lucky ducks from the not so lucky ones is pure motivation and drive. Our life experiences help drive our motivation so that failure is sometimes not an option. To quit is to fail. As long as you are still in the game, you are succeeding. How strong is your drive? What are your intentions behind your goals? Are you motivated by money itself, or do you see it as a tool to help you reach higher goals? If your number one goal is to make more money, then good luck. You are going to be more susceptible to compromising your values if money is your drive. However, if your goal is to be debt-free so that you can enjoy more time with your family, then now we are getting somewhere. If your goals don't even involve money, then you are probably more likely to achieve them. Righteous desires can bring down blessings from heaven, and with God's help, nothing is ever impossible. When righteous desires back up your motivation, you'll find that your inner gas tank will always have fuel to spare. Brick walls cannot stand in your way, detours cannot get you off track, and road construction will not make you turn around and head back. Your strength will surprise you, and whatever it is that your heart desires will eventually be accomplished. Here's a quote from George Seville from Complete Works 1912. They who are of the opinion that money will do everything may very well be suspected to do everything for money. And here's a scripture in Luke chapter 16, verse 13. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Subheading: How it all began. My desires and motivation to be financially independent began in childhood. I had quite the entrepreneurial spirit. The best lessons I learned about running a business started in the early years of my life. At the age of 3, I sold penny candy in my driveway and quickly learned the value of marketing when sales were at a zero by the end of the day. As I grew older, I learned that sometimes when you don't have a product, you can market a service. The service is your product. We didn't have a lot growing up. I couldn't sell chocolate chip cookies or lemonade because we never had those items in our house or the ingredients to make them. One day, I held a street carnival in my yard and performed juggling acts, cartoon sketches, and face painting. I charged 8 cents for each service provided. Though I didn't have any treats to offer, kids still came and had a great time, and I made some money that day. From there, I went on to offering babysitting services, pulling weeds and cleaning people's homes for a few dollars. One day, I took my earned money and bought a sucker making kit at the store. I figured if I made enough suckers and sold them all for $0.25 apiece, I would triple my investment. Well, I made them, but unfortunately, they didn't turn out. The syrupy mixture never solidified, so I had to get creative. I poured the mixture into little sandwich bags with the sucker stick poking out through the top. I then tied fancy ribbon around each bag and made cute little tags that said, "Fairy Sticks." Instead of telling people they were suckers gone horribly wrong, I said they were a new candy I created where you dip the fairy stick into the magical nectar and enjoy. I went door to door and had completely sold out by the time I got to the end of the street. Having money meant being able to buy snacks for after school. That was all the motivation I needed, and the ideas kept coming. I soon taught art project classes for $1 per class. I went to the moms in the neighborhood and asked them to sign up their kids. Then I would run through the house looking for any miscellaneous items that could make a great art project. The moms were impressed and the kids kept coming. After that, I did a daycare service every Saturday for 2 hours. I marketed it by telling the moms for $1 per child, they could have 2 hours to run errands without their kids. They loved it. I would walk to the children's homes and pick up the kids, and we would walk all the way back to my house for 2 hours of fun and learning. I loved to play school, and this time I could do it and get paid. It was always nice to earn money, but when I just wanted treats or new toys because we didn't have easy access to those things, I had other creative methods. For those days when I would come home from school hungrier than a lumberjack, settling for empty cupboards just wouldn't do. I would go door to door borrowing one ingredient from each neighbor until I had enough ingredients to make chocolate chip cookies. You know the saying, give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. I was learning to fish. In no time, I was coming up with other creative ways to get treats. I started a club in my backyard playhouse. Instead of a password to get into the club, all you had to do was bring a treat. I had a mason jar and would stand in front of the door where all the kids would line up and drop their treats in. When that got old, I started to throw birthday parties for my dolls and would send out party invitations. Kids would show up with nicely wrapped presents and treats, and we'd have a great time. On one particular instance, during the beginning of 3rd grade, I was in a new school and wanted to make some friends. I decided the best way to do that would be to host a Halloween party at my home without telling my mom. I figured she'd say no if I asked, and I knew that we didn't have any money for prizes, treats, or decorations. Quickly, I made 30 invitations and passed them out at school. On the invitations, I assigned a food item or treat to each person invited. Then, I waited for the day to arrive. To my surprise, all 30 kids showed up. Our kitchen counter was overflowing with soda, appetizers, and treats. All the kids were dressed up in Halloween costumes, and my mom was very surprised. I had turned the playhouse into a haunted house, and we had some fun with that. My mom was so impressed with my attempt to make new friends and thought the kids looked so adorable in their costumes, she took all of us to the nearby strip mall where they were doing trick-or-treating. The kids had a great time, and they never would have guessed that I was alone in my planning and execution. One day, out of ideas and resources, I had to get creative. Jim, who was the neighborhood bachelor that lived with his sister, seemed to be the perfect target. Sadie and I enjoyed teasing Jim, especially because he always gave us a hard time for being, quote, obnoxious little girls. One afternoon, while walking past his house, we had an idea. We saw the shed in the backyard and went exploring. There, we found a shovel. We smiled at each other, knowing exactly what we were going to do. We rang the doorbell, and Jim answered, looking half asleep and smelling of bad hygiene. "What do you want?" he cautiously asked. "We are selling shovels," I said. "Would you like to buy one?" my friend politely asked. His eyes lit up as he saw the shovel. Uh-oh, had we been caught? "This here is a mighty fine shovel. How much do you want for it?" he asked, as he took the shovel and eyed it up and down. $5, I replied. "Only $5?" he asked in a state of shock. "That's a steal of a deal. I'll take it." He pulled out his wallet and handed us a wrinkled $5 bill. Had we really pulled this off? As we watched him walk with the shovel into his backyard and place it right there in his shed, we realized, yes, we had. "Thank you, girls," he shouted. "I guess you two are good for something." As we walked away, trying not to giggle, we continued walking until we reached the convenience store, where we stocked up on sweets. Though I was proud of our creative plan and that we had successfully sold a man his own shovel, years later, I regretted being dishonest. If Jim hadn't moved away, I would have returned his $5 with a sincere apology. Subheading: A hunger for improvement. The desire for money which stemmed from the desire for good things to eat, was causing me to make some poor decisions. Hunger pains were more than just an annoyance. They were a constant nagging at my conscience that my family was less fortunate and I needed to do something about it. Having an empty fridge most of the time was wearing on my spirit. I needed the energy to enjoy my childhood, climbing trees, riding bikes, and brain power for learning. Our school began to offer breakfast for low-income families, and we qualified. I didn't mind getting up extra early and walking to school in the dark by myself just so I could enjoy a nice breakfast. However, by the time lunch rolled around, I was always sad. After finishing everything on my tray, I knew that it would be the last thing I would eat until 8 to 9 p.m. that night. My mom would get home late from work, and that's when we had dinner. Frozen broccoli, rice, and ground turkey patties were the items I remember her making most during these times. All my friends had bounteous pantries and fridges full of every sweet or salty treat a child could imagine. I enjoyed playing at other kids' homes after school in hopes that they would share some type of tasty morsel with me. One night before bedtime, the agony of having an empty stomach finally set in. I was to invent a sandwich, take it to school to be judged by a panel of faculty in hopes to win a glorious prize and school-wide recognition. I ran to the fridge in a panic. Not only was this a contest, it was a homework assignment. I couldn't opt out. I flung open the door and scanned my eyes across the bare shelves. A bottle of soy sauce, Italian dressing, one slice of stale wheat bread left, the end slice that no one eats, and a shriveled up piece of broccoli. That was it. No mayonnaise or mustard. The next day, I took my Italian dressing, soy sauce, broccoli on wheat, half sandwich to school and waited for the embarrassing results. It was clear that no one had tasted my sandwich or wanted to. The soy sauce and salad dressing had made the stale bread soggy to the point of non-recognition, and the broccoli seemed to say, "Eat me if you want a stomachache." It wasn't the sandwich I wanted to make, and I felt it wasn't fair. It was what it was, and there was nothing I could do but try my best to avoid other hopeless situations like this in the future. The sandwich experience was a sore reminder of what hopelessness felt like when my 13th birthday rolled around. Sadly, my mom told me that I would not get a birthday party for that year because she did not have the money, even for a cake. I was devastated. Taking control of the situation, I decided that I was not going to settle for no birthday party and took matters into my own hands. Again, I made invitations and passed them out. I took my babysitting money and used it all to buy a cake mix, frosting, balloons, and crepe paper. I invented some simple games in the backyard and did my best to make it look like my family had thrown the party for me. I think my friends were old enough to figure it out when they noticed the old Christmas tablecloth on the kitchen table during the month of March. I had never made a cake before, and it was clear that the giant frosted pink blob on the counter was not made by any normal mother. Regardless of what they thought, I got to have my party. I received clothes, jewelry, CDs, and all the things that a teenage girl thinks she needs. Yet my mom couldn't afford. I was happy. Subheading: taking a check from reality. My desire to make the impossible possible stemmed from these experiences as a child. I wanted to show everyone that I could break out of the mold and be successful. I didn't have to settle for what life had given me. I could be proactive. Also, having so little when it came to new clothes, a full fridge and pantry, or money to put us in dance lessons, I felt I needed to find ways to contribute so I could have these things. There were many times when I would save my money and go to the store just to buy treats and drinks, luxury items, for my family. I created my own version of The Price is Right, music and all, and they had to guess the prices of the food items in order to win them. It was fun for all of us, and I liked the feeling I got from sharing. One day, a reality check came, and it came hard. A neighbor girl who seemed to have it all decided to walk with me home from school. Out of the blue, she said, "You see, the difference between my sister and your sister is that my sister wears Guess and Gerbeau clothing, and your sister wears clothes from Kmart." Yes, other kids were noticing our financial circumstances. We were no longer able to hide it. This same girl had pointed out on the first day of 4th grade that we were a poor family. "Aren't those the clothes that you wore last year in 3rd grade? Didn't your mom buy you any new clothes?" All the kids in the lunchroom started to laugh. My mom had actually taken the money she was going to buy me school clothes with and used it to buy another girl school clothes. We were friends with this poor girl's family, and they were more or less fortunate than us. She was older than me and only had one pair of clothes that she wore every day. It would have been more devastating for her to start school with one outfit than it would have been for me to wear last year's wardrobe. I was happy to go shopping with her and my mom to help her pick out some new clothes. After that experience, I began to save up my money for school clothes. I didn't want to be humiliated again. As soon as I entered junior high, I purchased my own school clothes and anything else that I needed. My mom contributed when she could, and we made it work. I learned to be independent, and I learned the value of hard work and money. If I wanted something, I had to pay for it myself. In high school, I bought my mom's car from her and paid for my own gas and insurance. I paid my way to college and worked a full-time job all the way up until the day I had my first child. Throughout these experiences, I have learned that our desires, motivation, and goals are always changing, and that's okay. As we experience life, we weed out what's important from what's not so important. We grow up. Name brand clothes becomes frivolous wants, and we replace those desires with more fulfilling purchases, such as feeding our children, paying our bills, and helping out charity. To this day, I buy my clothes at Walmart, Ross, and TJ Maxx. In fact, I have purchased jewelry at the secondhand stores and receive more compliments than jewelry I buy from the mall. I haven't shopped at a department store in years. If I need it, it fits, and the price is reasonable, then I'll buy it. I don't need a $2,000 industrial vacuum when my Dirt Devil works just fine. That's what I told the door-to-door salesman anyway. It may not be as powerful, but if our ancestors survived without vacuums, then why can't we do with less? And that's the end of that chapter. I was just thinking about it and realized this very shirt that I'm wearing right now, it is a brand new shirt. It's my first time wearing it, and I actually found it thrifting at the DI. It was the day that my daughter interviewed for her job there, so I was waiting. And so while you're waiting, you just start looking, and I ended up waiting for almost an hour. So I combed through every clothing item in that store, and I happened to find this cute shirt, still had a tag on it, had never been worn, and only got it for a few dollars. I call that a win. So, of course, I wrote this book way back in 2013. I only had 3 kids at the time. I now buy a lot of my clothing online, but I still buy it for really good deals. Things that have changed from that period of my life. I no longer celebrate Halloween. Surprise, surprise, most of you know that. And I would never sell someone else something that already belongs to them. My kids get a kick out of that story. They always look at me just in shock. Like, Mom, are you kidding me? Did you really sell someone their own shovel? Yes, I did. I'm not proud of it. I think we can all look back on our past, especially from childhood, and revisit lots of choices we would do different if we had the chance. And of course, there are some choices, some mistakes that I learned very valuable lessons from, so I probably wouldn't go back and change anything. But anytime you're the cause for someone else experiencing loss so that you can gain, so your gain at someone else's expense, I think most of us recognize that is the adversary's tactics. That's how he does business. But I can assure you, I learned from that mistake, and that's why I'm not embarrassed to talk about my past. I tell my kids all the time, I hope you learn valuable lessons from my mistakes. These are the things not to do. Anyways, I'd love to hear your comments down below if you can relate to any of this, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I will see you next time for Chapter 8. Hi, I'm Lindsey Rietzsch, the creator of Hydro Heal, a product that's been changing dry skin for almost 2 decades. I created Hydro Heal back in 2008 as a solution for my own dry feet. Countless pedicures and dermatologist visits weren't making a difference. And who has the time or energy for this method? Word on the street spread, and Hydro Heal gained the attention of Shark Tank investors and venture capitalists, launching it on a nationwide TV campaign, gaining interest and attention from celebrities on live TV. See it to believe it demos and try before you buy? Put Hydro Heal in the spotlight, selling out of product at every show. After my feet were transformed, I decided to test it on eczema, dry lips and hands, athlete's foot, and cradle cap. And the results were incredible. Brand new skin in just 7 days. But it gets even better. Hydro Heal was also tested on a recovering hospital patient with an ongoing leg wound that would not close. After 3 days, this was the result. A wound that closed, healthy skin, and doctors were amazed. So how does Hydro Heal work? It's a solid ointment made from natural ingredients that turns into a liquid on contact with your skin, seeping down into deep cracks, while acting like a bandage, creating an invisible barrier on the surface, protecting your skin from outside elements, allowing it to naturally repair from the inside out. Start feeling more comfortable in your skin today, because everyone should love their skin. Click down below for a special offer or visit hydroheal.com.